Coming up, baseball, an iconic sport globally and a treasured tradition for the Pueblos of the Southwest. Hear from today's players. Plus, we are nearing the 100th anniversary of the Indian Citizenship Act. Our Polly Dinette-Claw explains. And the Tohono Nation takes the reins of its horses by learning about farrier skills. Those stories next on the ICT Newscast.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.
Support for the ICT Newscast with Aaliyah Chavez comes from the Arizona PBS studios in Phoenix at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communications at Arizona State University.
Amirawa Hopa. Thank you for joining us. I am Aaliyah Chavez. The family of Raymond Mattia, a citizen of the Tohono Nation, has announced a federal lawsuit suing U.S. Border Patrol agents for wrongful death. Mattia was shot and killed last year in front of his home when Border Patrol agents showed up responding to a 911 call about 2 possible gunshots. Body cam video shows Mattia was following commands during the incident. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Arizona did not arrest or prosecute the agents involved in the shooting. Tohono officials said in a statement, there are countless questions left unanswered by this decision. As a result, we cannot and will not accept the U.S. Attorney's decision. In addition to wrongful death, Mattia's family is suing for various crimes, including excessive force, assault, and battery negligence.
Spotted Tail, or Sintegleshka, was a leader of the Sichangu Lakota in the late 1800s. He was a fierce warrior in his youth, but later saw the value in education as more settlers made their way into Dakota territory. As a sign of friendship, Sintegleshka gave some items to an Indian agent, Major Cicero Newell. 6 generations later, the Newell family has returned the items to the Spotted Tail family. At a ceremony in Pierre, South Dakota, the 5th generation of the Sichangu leader, John Spotted Tail, and his wife Tamara Stands and Looks Back Spotted Tail gave the items to the State Historical Society so that all the people can view the significant items. Sintegleshka was a signer to the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868, and the Rosebud Sioux Reservations University was named in his honor. Shirley Snavy, ICT News.
In Montana, a nonprofit is doing whatever it takes to increase participation of Native voters. With the primary election approaching, Western Native Voice has been canvassing and encouraging Native communities across Montana to vote. According to the nonprofit, while Native Americans make up only 6.5% of the population in Montana, their participation in this election could affect the entire nation. It is providing rides to voting polls, picking up ballots, and helping voters to register, among other efforts to boost Native voter turnout. In Alaska, millions in federal funding will go towards improving water infrastructure in rural villages. $225 million from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency will be used to develop safe drinking water and waste services to improve public health and environmental protections in Alaska communities. This funding will enable tribes to make critical public health upgrades, such as servicing line replacements and installing wastewater infrastructure. A new app is providing mental health services for Native American veterans. The Department of Veterans Affairs boosted funding and has launched Hero Story, where interested veterans can register. It is set to provide virtual talking circles and discussion ceremonies. The platform was developed by a company called Televada, which won a Veterans Affairs grant for innovative ideas for veteran suicide prevention. The company found a need for this app due to Native American veterans having one of the highest suicide rates, according to the VA's most recent suicide report. This year marks 100 years since President Calvin Coolidge signed the Indian Citizenship Act into law. At the time, about half the Native American population was already considered citizens of their state or the United States. While this act gave American citizenship to Native Americans, it did not immediately ensure equal rights. ICT political correspondent Polly Danette-Claw is here with us to discuss this. Welcome back, Polly.
Thank you so much for having me.
Can you talk about some of the ways that Native Americans were able to gain citizenship before the passage of this act?
Yes, so I think it's important to start this conversation that Congress in the late 1800s did say that Native Americans were not considered citizens of the United States. And so it would only take acts of Congress in order to give citizenship to Native Americans. And so they did do this through the Dawes Act and other allotment acts throughout that period of time. And there were also some treaties that were signed that included provisions that gave American citizenship. Other ways were through military service. If a Native woman married a white American citizen, then the partner, the wife, could then be considered an American citizen, and her children would be considered American citizens. And so there were a few avenues, including giving up your tribal citizenship, moving away from your community, assimilating to white American society, were just some of the ways that Native Americans were able to gain citizenship at that time.
It's hard to know for certain, but tell us, did Native people even want American citizenship at that time?
So actually, there was the first Native American think tank called the Society of American Indians, where they got together and they talked a lot about citizenship and various other issues in the early 1900s. And so their writing is available at the National Archives. And so they were very affluent, wealthy folks. And so their perspective was that they did want American citizenship. They were often located in urban areas, away from their communities. And it was for practical reasons. Being able to vote was one of them. Another was having access to courts. And so those were just some of the reasons why this group of people wanted American citizenship. On the other side, there were a lot of Indigenous people who did not want American citizenship, who said that who described it as another form of colonization and assimilation into American society. And so, like issues that continue, into the present, there are varying perspectives from Native Americans, Indigenous people across the United States, what is now known as the United States.
I want to actually talk about the irony of this, of course, because Native people were here long before this country even existed. But tell us, Polly, what is the importance of the Indian Citizenship Act?
There is so much irony around the idea of the original peoples of a continent, of a place, of a land, gaining citizenship on lands that they have taken care of for millennia, for thousands of years. And the Indian Citizenship Act is important because it was one of the ways that Native folks could get the right to vote, because the first step in getting the right to vote is having citizenship. And so it is one of those. So for that reason, it's really important. But I think it's important to note that at the time, it did not ensure equal rights to a white male American citizen. And so Native people, the right for Native folks to cast their ballot was challenged all the way to the 1960s. And so the last case was actually in New Mexico, where it was challenged that Native people living on the reservation, Navajo people living on the reservation, were not considered New Mexico state citizens, therefore could not vote in the election. And so that went all the way to the New Mexico Supreme Court, and it was ruled that Native people living on the reservation are state citizens and can cast their ballots within the state. And so while there was the Citizenship Act, there were many, many ways that Native people were hindered from casting their ballots.
And we know that that still exists today, especially in 2024 with the presidential election just months away. Tell us about some of those issues that still exist for Indigenous communities and access to the ballot box.
And so, one of the many ways that access is limited is just how rural Native communities are. Some are located, in Alaska. There are folks who are only able to travel via plane. In my own community on the Navajo Nation, there are miles and miles you have to drive in order to get food, in order to get gas, in order to get these basic necessities. And so distance is a huge issue when it comes to casting ballots for Native communities. It starts there. There aren't enough places for folks to even register to vote. You would have to drive into the border town in order to be able to do that. And so these are just some of the ways that the Native vote has been hindered, and there aren't enough places also on election day to cast your ballot.
Well, Polly, unfortunately, that's all the time we have together today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
A favorite pastime is bridging communities and generations. ICT's Paris Wise has the story.
It's time for Pueblo baseball. Summertime is almost here, and that means baseball is in full swing. It's a family favorite that has been around for over 100 years and has brought together Pueblo communities across New Mexico. The Indian Pueblo Cultural Center in Albuquerque has an exhibit called Pueblo Baseball, Stitching Our Communities Together. The exhibit showcases a collection of various photos, videos, and objects from past to present teams, walking visitors through the history of the sport. I spoke with the head curator of the Cultural Center, who shared how this all began.
We know that it started around Isleta around the turn of the 20th century. And so Isleta was the first Pueblo to have a Pueblo baseball team. And around the same time, Pueblo baseball also was being played at Laguna Pueblo. So from there, you kind of see it move a little bit further west, and Pueblo baseball is being played at Acoma by 1920.
Various members from Pueblos made contributions to the exhibit, including shin guards, cleats, and other gear that is displayed to show that the tradition is continued on across generations.
So in working on this exhibition, I think one of the things that really stands out is that while there's a really healthy competition between, the different teams at the villages, everybody really recognizes that skill and talent. Everybody has a nice thing to say. If they see a good player, they're going to say that that player is really super talented. And so what we find is that people from all different generations are learning from each other on the field. What's really interesting is that the age range from teenager to the 50s, people of all different generations are out there and they're in the game, so you could have a whole family of men on the field all at one time.
From past to present, these teams are still going strong. The season begins in May and is divided into the Northern Pueblo League and the Southern Pueblo League. The vice president of the Southern Pueblo League shared insight on impacts the game has on players today.
We're trying to give the younger generation a shot that weren't probably provided back in the day, and back in the day it was just a hobby, and you see a lot of kids now who are coming out of high school, going into college, trying to help them out with that. And this league is that's what it's about.
As a player himself, overseeing the 16 teams in the Southern Pueblo League has brought its own lessons and reflections.
As a Native American, you have that pride to go and you want to be, into something bigger than that at a young age. And that's what I wanted to do. So, I played here a lot of the times, and just the excitement, the nervousness, and it's fun. And that's how I got into it at a young age, going to the games, watching it, and just seeing how everybody, you know, just from different tribes are all coming together, enjoying a sport that we all love.
In the Southern Pueblo League, the Santa Ana Orioles are just one example of a team carrying on this family tradition for those who came before them and for those to come.
I have 2 nephews and then a couple of cousins that actually I play with now. It's crazy because I didn't think I'd play with them. I thought I'd be done, but they're the ones that keep me going, so that's why I play. I've been in the league 20 years now, and I've played for 3 different teams, but it's been mostly the same guys, I think, pretty much. I think this is the funnest team because I'm the old guy, and these guys are all young guys, so I think this is the funnest one so far.
I come from 2 baseball players. Both my mom and my dad played in high school for teams. Went to the league. All my aunties, they played ball. All my uncles played ball. I'm still playing ball, one of them. It's, like I said, baseball runs in the blood.
Teams in each league will compete in all-star games, and the winners will go head-to-head at the end for the championship. This means practices and games are competitive and can get intense.
Well, what I was told is unwritten rule. Official initiation into the league, you got to get hit at the plate. Fielding balls at second, and then the ball just came in too fast, took a crazy hop, it hit me right in my face, right on my shades. But it's all right, they're okay. The only thing I care about is my shades.
Teams hold practices throughout the week to get ready for games over the weekend, where family and friends come out to cheer them on. The Santa Ana Orioles have high hopes for this season as they have had a losing streak for some years. Regardless, playing together is the real win.
Today's game, second game of the season. Tamaya Orioles playing the Jemez Mets. My favorite part about being on this team is, I get to play with my close friends, cousins, brothers. It's a really big or small community over here, so you get to play with some familiar faces.
My team, they're just amazing. We try to pull through. We came with the dub. This is the first time I ever played with them, and it was actually fun. So I never managed a team before, but this is my first time managing. It was amazing. I didn't think we were going to come pull through. They were going to, but we did. So we never made it to tourneys, so I'm trying to get to tourneys.
Paris Wise, ICT News.
Last year, Wab Kinew made history after he was elected Premier of Manitoba, becoming the first Anishinaabe person to ever be Premier of a Canadian province. Half a year later, and Kinew is back in the powwow circle. Last week, up to 15,000 people attended the Manitoba Festival in Winnipeg, where Kinew hosted a men's chicken dance special. APTN was there and has all of the sights and sounds.
Powwow specials are done when something good happens to you. Maybe you're the head dancer at a powwow, or some sort of milestone in your life. And so for our family to go through the election last year and to have the great honor of serving the people of Manitoba as a premier, it just seemed like an important time to give back. Tons of fun. Chicken dance is like a high energy, exciting style. You saw some battling going on out there between the dancers. I grew up dancing powwow and singing, and then I'd say I got back into it maybe about 7 years ago or something like that. So it's just what we do for fun,
when I see the young kids dancing out there on the dance floor, singing on our stages, it's a reminder of why we have to keep this way of life going and going and going.
I'm really excited to be here because when I just moved to Canada and when I started my journey through learning all this indigenous culture, native culture, and I visited my first powwow, I always had a comment, you must visit Winnipeg, you must visit Manitohapi. I didn't know it's called Manitohapi. I always said Winnipeg powwow, and I know that it's a large community here.
It was a super memorable experience, and then we had a mix of like some of the OG chicken dancers, you could say, and then some of the young guns, and then some of the guys who are just really well known. So over the 4 years, we hope to be able to do 2 years of men's categories, 2 years of women's categories, and then just kind of have the opportunity to give thanks in a way that makes sense for the powwow trail.
The first place dancer for the Chicken Dance Special was given a cash prize and a Wob canoe belt. Premier Canoe added that in First Nations culture, you should share your success with the rest of the community when you are successful in life. What a beautiful sentiment there. Languages are among our most valued resources. Ensuring that they are preserved and taught is important in Indigenous communities and here at ICT. Today, we're continuing our Language Break segment, which features Native speakers from across Turtle Island, sharing their beautiful and bold words and phrases. This week, we bring you the Hawaiian language from Kumukau'i Peralto and music from Kalani Pea.
He ali'i ka aina he kawa ke kanaka. He ali'i ka aina he kawa ke kanaka. The land is chief, man is her servant. He ali'i ka aina he kawa ke kanaka. Our land is both a responsibility and a privilege.
A tribe in southern Arizona is teaching its community a trade that is not widely known. Today, we visit the Tohono Nation to learn more about farriers, which are individuals who specialize in care for horse hooves. Cronkite News reporter Denzen Cortez has the story.
In a remote area 145 miles away from Phoenix, surrounded by mountains as far as the eye can see.
This one good? Yeah,
this side. You will hear the sounds of a community taking ownership of their culture.
Try this and see if we're in the ballpark.
This is a farrier course taught at a community college on the Tohono Nation, led by one man.
George Good. I am now retired, and I'm out to teach the natives how to trim and shoe their horses' feet correctly.
Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., George Good is nonstop.
You guys want to take out another anvil? Take out one more anvil and put it right there, would you?
At 83 years old, his passion for teaching fellow Native Americans the importance of horseshoeing is still going strong.
Horseshoeing is a science, and the natives do not know that. Somehow we got left out.
This land, while stunning, can be tough on a horse's hooves and the wallet. According to Good, proper hoof care in the Southwest Native American country can cost almost $200 every 8 weeks.
It's a heck of a maintenance. It's expensive. That's why the natives need to know how to do their own livestock.
Horses have always been a part of Native American culture since the beginning. However, maintenance on their hooves is something that's not always been focused on, making people like George Good carve a new pathway to forge a new generation.
With horseshoeing, you can't teach out of a book. This is a hands-on program.
And by the way Good students work, it's all hands on hooves.
This one good?
Yeah, this side, I can see it flush.
Okay. I need to bring this one back out. I love teaching. I love the people. I can see the success. And my goal is, if I teach you, I want you to pass it on.
The instructions go beyond just horseshoeing. One of Good's students applying his life wisdom, Adrian Morgan.
How to never give up. George is kind of annoying. He will not take no for an answer. And I learned that from him. I learned to keep working towards what I want to do.
Morgan was a student of Good's in 2004 and remembers what it was like learning the farrier trade for the first time.
I was learning. It was too much information all at one time. You know, he would tell me, bring that nail off, and I didn't understand. Now this opened up a new door for me. I was like, wow, I got a new career path now. So now I'm an instructor. I would have never thought that when I first started.
They are finding out that there is love besides just liking a horse. And now they're willing to go that one step farther.
And it's the lives touched like Morgan's that keep Good's passion going, continuing to forge the next generation of Native American farriers, all with a big smile on his face.
As I always said, this is the only job you can get a kick out of.
On the Thalna Altham Nation, Denson Cortez, Cronkite News.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.